Okay, we've got some people flying in at 11 a.m. Good morning. Thank you for joining us here at the Better Business Partnership Program, or BBP for short. My name is Amanda Choi, and I'm the Program Coordinator of the program. Before we begin, I acknowledge all the traditional owners of the land on which we live and work, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Personally, I am in the land of the Camaragal people in Willoughby, but please let us know who you are and where you are from in the chat box, both from your business or organisation, as well as your location, so we know who we're talking to. Today's webinar is intended to inspire you into action, getting prepared for those times when governments hand out money. So, a little bit about BBP. BBP is a free council-funded program to support the small and medium business community to be more successful through sustainability, and in line with many, in fact, probably most local councils' ambitions to reach net zero emissions by 2040 or thereabouts. We have been given the mandate to help businesses along their pathways, to raise awareness of what they can do and to really support them hands-on. Our partner councils are Ku-ring-gai, North Sydney and Willoughby, and we are currently in a pilot with Bayside Council. Let me introduce you to the BBP team, who are also your expert presenters for today. So we have Janika Patel from Willoughby Council, David Sivia, who is the Ku-ring-gai Council BBP Program Manager, and Daniela McDowell from North Sydney. And behind the scenes, we have Brenda, who looks after our socials and comms, making everything look beautiful. So, today, what we are focusing on is really getting you guys ready to take advantage of those, those opportunities. And what we see at BBP is a lot of missed opportunities. We are your consultants in business, but focusing on sustainability. We're looking out for opportunities to save you money and to improve the environment, as well as improve your social and community engagement. So I'm going to hand over first to Daniela to understand the bigger picture, the context against which we are working. And then we're going to hear from David around what's a grant, what's a rebate, what are the different types, how you can find them and actually have a hands-on example. And then over to Janika, who's going to really step us through the how. What do you need to do now and how we can help you? The Q&A button right in the middle of the bottom of your Zoom thing, bar, please put your Q&A in there and we will do them at the end. But if you put them in the chat as well, so everyone can see, that's fine, we'll catch them. So without further ado, over to Daniela first.
Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everyone. Nice to be here with you. I'm joining from Camaragal and here in North Sydney as well. So just as Amanda said, just to give an idea of the bigger picture, what are we talking about? Why do we have federal, state, local government with these opportunities and this money for the businesses helping? Because we have a climate emergency happening. And just to give you a bit of an idea in terms of the scientific basis behind all that, the IPCC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that's been funded. It's been out since 1988. So it's been about 50 years. Scientists from more than 190 countries are studying the interactions of Earth's systems. And then this image I bring to you guys today, and I'm going to go just really quickly on that, is an image from scientists in Stockholm who got all those data. And in September 2023, they came up with this planetary boundaries framework, where scientists quantified for the first time all 9 processes that regulate the stability and resilience of the Earth's system. So why is that important? Why are we talking about that? Because if we look at those systems and the impacts of human activities in those systems, we can see from the later updates and the monitoring that they're doing that we are crossing the safe boundaries and we are decreasing Earth's resilience and stability. And what's the problem of that? We are increasing the risk of generating large-scale, abrupt, and reversible environmental changes. Yes, we have to be worried about this. Yes, we have to be acting, and we still have time to revert, but we need to act collaboratively, quickly, and all governments that are part of that, Australia included, knows about it. The IPCC warned them all. The planetary boundaries, if we see on the next slide, over time. So now we know out of the 9 boundaries, 6 had already passed the safe boundary. But if you look on their monitoring 2009, we had crossed just 3 and then 4 crossed in 2015 and now 6 crossed in 2023. So actions need to be done quickly, and governments know about that. And that's why government is starting to, for the past years, put more money and understanding that they have to do a lot of actions, but they also need to help their communities, their residents, and their businesses to do a lot of actions as well. So what does that mean for Australia in terms of the next slide? And Australia has a long-term emission reduction plan. So they know about this climate crisis. They know we have to act. And what this plan does, it is mapping what are the areas that we need to act and what is the technology that we need to use. So in this plan, it's stated that there is an average increase of 1.44 degrees Celsius since 1910, and it's due to human activity. And it unfolds into a national climate resilience and adaptation strategy, which is building efforts on driving innovation, investments, and adaptation actions through partnerships, also providing climate information and services, and tracking national adaptation progress to climate risk assessments, monitoring, and evaluation. So that means that the government is recognizing the actions that need to be done, the areas that need investment on, and that we need technology and innovation to drive that, and partnership and collaboration. Next slide, please. So when we look at the federal government doing all that, and scientists advising them on all that, that also unfolds to different industries. So in the federal level, we have the net zero plan talking about 6 main sectors that they need to invest and change. So electricity and energy, transport, industry in general, agriculture and land, resources, and the built environment. For business, this means a lot of opportunities in one hand, but a lot of questions and more regulatory, mandatory aspects of it coming up in the next few years. And that unfolds also to the state level and the local level. So if we look at New South Wales also has a net zero plan, talking about how we reduce carbon emissions, because when we look at those boundaries, carbon emissions is something that really affect the balance and the stability of those planetary boundaries. So all levels are focusing on net zero emissions and emissions reduction. And when we look at the local level as well, all our councils, and here are examples from the councils that are part of BBP. So Ku-ring-gai has the net zero community strategy. Here in North City, we have environmental sustainability strategy. And Willoughby also has the Green City Plan. We all councils are now with net zero strategies with targets to 2030, 2050. And this will also unfold into opportunities for businesses, as we're going to see in a little while. And just to a bit on the new sustainability reporting standards. So that is also a new, it's not only federal, state, and councils doing all this investment and helping the business, but also more regulation, as I said, and mandatory reporting coming up from January 2025. We can see a lot of changes coming from that. So this is a new regulation, bigger, more complex. Businesses will start needing to report on that and climate-related financial disclosures next year, but that will unfold as they do their scope 3 emissions and understand their supply chain. That will eventually impact smaller businesses within their supply chain. And we have a time frame for those businesses to also report on their climate targets and what they're doing in terms of scope 1, 2, and 3. So this is all the background and the bigger picture for why do we have all this opportunity coming up, grants, but also more regulation. So we're going to see more money available for businesses and residents to tap on. And yes, and we have this whole workshop to talk more about that. So I'll pass it on to David to start talking about what are the grants and rebates.
Thanks, Annie, and thanks, Amanda, as well. Yeah, it's getting down to the nitty-gritty of it now. So let's talk about what grants and rebates actually are. Grants are financial support provided by various organisations, including government bodies, corporations, and non-profits. What's key here is that grants do not require repayment, which is the great part. Grants are designed to fund specific projects or initiatives that align with the goals of the grantor. So these can range from research and development projects to sustainability improvements or community-based programs. For example, a local council, Gus, might offer grants to businesses that implement energy efficient practices or develop community projects. These grants can significantly offset the initial investment costs. And while applying for grants, it's important to carefully review the eligibility criteria and ensure every project aligns with the grant's objectives. It's always a tricky one to make sure that's the way it transpires. We'll be running through these steps later. Rebates, on the other hand, are partial refunds given after the purchase of certain products or services. They are typically provided to encourage specific consumer behaviours, such as purchasing energy-efficient appliances or water-saving devices, for example. For instance, if a business invests in solar panels or energy-efficient lighting, they might be eligible for a rebate that covers a portion of the cost. And this not only reduces the upfront investment, but also promotes long-term savings through the reduced bills. Let's take a look at a real-world example of how BBP rebates can significantly benefit local businesses. And so for here, we've this case study focuses on the West Pymble Bicentennial Club, where it undertook a lighting upgrade project. And the project involved replacing halogen lights with energy-efficient LEDs throughout the club. This change aimed to reduce electricity consumption and lower carbon emissions. And the total cost of the project was $5,500, which is not too bad. By making this upgrade, the club saved approximately 5,400 kilowatt hours per year and reduced its carbon emissions by 5.4 tons of CO2 equivalent annually, which is fantastic. The club received a rebate of $2,000 through the BBP rebate program, and the rebate reduced the payback period of the project from 3.4 years to 2.1. Making the investment more attractive and feasible for the club as well. I think what's important to note here is the ease of the rebate process. The club simply identified an eligible item, completed the purchase and installation, and then submitted the invoice to claim the rebate. The rebate was matched dollar for dollar up to the maximum amount, which in this case was $2,000. And this is a really great example of how effective and simple it can be to take advantage of BBP rebates, leading to substantial cost savings and environmental benefits for the local businesses. Let's have a look now. We can move on to the grants and rebates, and moving on from the grants and rebates, let's talk about the extensive support that is out there, I guess, and especially for BBP. We offer comprehensive support tailored to local businesses to enhance sustainability and reduce operational costs. We provide tailored advice, like we're doing today, specific to your business needs, conduct comprehensive sustainability assessments, and offer access to various rebates to help offset the costs of implementing sustainable practices. A significant advantage of BBP is that through the councils we operate with, such as us, Ku-ring-gai Council, North Sydney Council and Willoughby, we act as your individual account managers. And this means you have dedicated support for these very instances, ensuring you receive the best possible advice and assistance. And today's webinar is just a very brief example of the support available. BBP's mission is to strengthen the local and small business community by supporting them to reduce their carbon footprint and improve their sustainability performance, covering economic, social and environmental aspects. With City Switch, in addition to BBP, a national initiative, it's aimed at helping office-based businesses to improve their energy efficiency, and they provide a wealth of free resources, expert advice and opportunities to network with other businesses committed to sustainability, and Danny's a great representative from North Sydney for that. With Business Connect, who we work with regularly as well. It's another valuable resource, and it's a New South Wales government program designed to support small businesses through various stages of growth. They offer free business advisory services, practical workshops, and a plethora of online resources to help you navigate the challenges of running a small business as well. Now, the good part around finding grants, we get to the next slide. Now that we've discussed the various free programs and support, we can move on to all the different resources to actually apply for grants and how we can actually benefit your business. What we've highlighted here is just a few different resources which can help. A paid helpful resource is the Grants Hub, which offers a pretty comprehensive database of grants available in Australia. You can visit their website to explore various grant opportunities. They also have a specific grants resource hub page where you can access detailed resources and guides to assist you with your grant applications. It's really helpful as well, for sure. So definitely check that out. Another great resource is the Easy Grants newsletter from the Funding Centre. I'm a subscriber to this as well. This newsletter provides regular updates on available grants and funding opportunities, ensuring you stay informed about the latest options. You can subscribe and find more information at thefundingcentre.com.au. And the Australian Government's business.gov.au website also offers a grants and programs finder tool. This tool allows you to search for grants and programs that your business may be eligible for, and you can access this tool directly at the website beneath, which is business.gov.au/grants and programs. Using these resources can greatly simplify the process of finding suitable grants for your business. It's a good idea to regularly check the website and subscribe to those newsletters we were just talking about. And yeah, we can now move into actually demonstrating how to navigate and search for one. So I'll try and share my screen in a second and give this a crack. Coming in. Here we go. So what we're going to try and do today is an example of actually looking for kind of the case study of an early childhood centre. As you can see here, just head to business.gov.au/grants and programs. And it's incredibly simple. And we'll just go through it pretty quickly now. We'll just navigate very briefly. So clicking on Start Now, obviously choosing your correct territory as well, or New South Wales for us. Going next. It'll constantly update your options here below as well. We're going to focus on the early childhood education, etc. that we just touched on. You can really minimize it by what business structure you have as well. Going to choose company. We're going to look at funding and subsidies and rebates very appropriately. And then obviously for us, what we're touching on here is environmental sustainability. Moving on to that. And then depending on your business stage, we'll go for more than 5 years, and it's still updating it below here as well. You can see which grants are actually open or which opportunities are open. And ultimately, you can then choose even more finer details. And then we can view results. And I think we were looking at one last couple of days, which is just these are the different options that you have. You end up, instead of spending hours upon hours searching through the different opportunities for you, this is just such a great example to be able to use. So I think it's such great user experience. And yeah, from my end, let's move on now to how to actually, the next slide, which will discuss how to actually apply for the grant. And this is with Janika.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk you through the pathway of applying for a grant. So the first step that you want to do is to start preparing. And to do this, you want to have an idea of what kind of grant you are looking for and complete an internal audit of what you currently have and where changes can be made. You can use the grant finder tool, as David demonstrated, to familiarize yourself with how to search and also looking at prior grants as well. The next thing you want to do is start researching and gathering all the information you need to validate your application. It might be useful to install energy monitoring equipment and research the current energy efficiency of any appliance models that you wish to upgrade versus the new one you're looking to purchase. You may also want to consider getting a consultant out to come and get a quote prepared so you know how much the upgrade will cost and how much you would need to apply for, how much money you would need to apply for on your application. The next thing that we would be waiting for is the grant to be announced. So when the grant is announced, it will re-review the current eligibility for the grant. With this, because some grants are cyclical, you want to make sure that there's been no changes to the eligibility if you've been using that as a framework to getting all your research together. When the grant is announced, it will also give you the window of application, essentially when the grant opens and when the deadline is for submissions. I would recommend setting yourself a personal deadline for submission, which is earlier than the official deadline, to ensure that your application is submitted early and maximize your chances. A lot of grants can be allocated on a first come, first served basis. So the earlier your application, the greater your chances are. If the preparation and research has already been done, this will speed up this review process and allow for the early submission. When you're reviewing your application, make sure that all your points are relevant and also meet the key objectives of what the grant is trying to achieve. As BBP members, you're welcome to send your application through to your respective program manager for another look over as well. We're here to help. Once you're happy with your application, you'll be ready to submit and you can send that through. Next slide.
Sorry. Thanks so much, Janika. Thanks, Daniela and David. So we have some time for questions. So please have a think, pop them in the Q&A or straight into the chat. And I just wanted to reiterate like what Janika was saying, we are here to help. So for those of you that have been through our BBP process, your dedicated council BBP program manager will actually come out to your business premises, walk around, interview and assess the sustainable operations, focusing on energy, water, waste, for example. And in that, the opportunity is there to really examine, if you've got refrigerators, if you've got air conditioners, if you've got hot water systems, if you have lighting, that hasn't been upgraded and it's still, the older style, it's using too much energy and that's costing you money. And these programs are there. So we are here to point that out, but also get you started and, get those quotes, help you get those quotes, understand the current energy usage of those items, and then we'll keep an eye out for those potential grants. But as David said, there's so many, it's really worth you looking for your relevant industry, or if you want EV chargers, for example, there's a lot going on in that electric vehicle infrastructure space. So the grants could come from anywhere and the rebates could come from anywhere. So yeah, be ready, because those buckets, once they're announced, it's best, you know, first in, best dressed. The money goes down. Even if the grant is open for like 2 months, it might be completely exhausted after 4 weeks. And so we see it all the time, and that was really why we wanted to make this webinar, to really underscore that those opportunities are there for the taking. And you know, we have some really great case studies of people that have invested, you know, got money to supplement, whether it's a rebate or a grant, and save money at the same time. So I also wanted to shout out that we were going to talk about the energy saving scheme, but it is like a completely big subject on its own. And I know that we have an expert in the audience, Axel from Easy Being Green, a very long-term BBP business. And I think we're going to have to do another webinar, actually, Axel, with you as a special guest, because I know you have a lot of knowledge in this. But they have for LED upgrades and solar installations, particularly in the sort of the medium to large commercial, that would be their expertise. So I'm not sure, maybe Axel can pop in the chat his details, but yeah, that is a completely different, you know, it would probably be a webinar in itself.
Sorry, Amanda, there's a question from Nicola
Yes.
Anderson here. Are grants rebates available for services, businesses that work from home, or only for businesses with premises?
I think it really depends on the specific grant or rebate, but I know that for many, it's just contingent on, you know, you're having an ABN, so that's a particular requirement. But depending on your council, so for example, in Willoughby, in Ku-ring-gai Council, there are sustainable business rebates for small businesses, but there are also rebates for homeowners that are pretty much equivalent. So you know, you would qualify under one of those, or I think North Sydney might be the same, Daniela. So there's a similar sort of scheme where there is for the business community as well as for homeowners.
Yes, it's similar, Amanda, as you said. So I think from council perspective, what we're looking at is that the technology that's going to improve the property that is in a property located in North Sydney local government area. So if you're going to put a solar panel on, or if you're going to change your lighting, or whatever you're going to do in terms of being more efficient and with less environmental impact, as long as it's in the property and it stays in the local government area, you can apply either with the businesses grant or the residential aspect of if you're working from home and you live here, then you can use that as a resident as well.
I think for home-based upgrades, the local council rebate system is mainly going to apply.
And I see, yeah, Axel, thank you. Axel just replied that he's happy to answer questions directly with his email on the chat if anyone needs to talk about the energy scheme.
So we have another question. Can a business get the rebate for lighting, hot water, etc., via the New South Wales Energy Scheme, and also the council grants up to $2,000 for lighting, let's say? It really depends on the terms of the specific council rebate that we're talking about. So in terms of accessing the energy saving scheme, and Axel is the expert on this, but that's the application of certificates. So I think that the quote and the payment of that delivery of the lighting, etc., as long as that's paid, you know, the rebate system is very simple. You put in an eligible paid invoice, it just goes through those eligibility ticks in terms of your location, whether you're a business or a homeowner in the right LGA. But that rebate would be payable. They are limited. It's not an unlimited bucket with the local councils. So I know that it is, first in, best dressed. So yeah, I think that we would say, please have a look at what you can do and get in touch with us so we can support you. But we want to see these rebates used up and grants.
Yeah, here it just adding to that, in obviously we do not have a condition that says that you cannot apply for the rebate if you already applied to a state grant or something. So you could do that. As Amanda said, it's a case of having the funds. It's first in, best dressed, and having all the other eligible conditions attended. But you could do that.
I've just added a link into the chat itself, just around the net zero stuff for at-home rebates as well.
Yeah, so we have had, the large sort of federal government energy efficiency grants that have come up earlier this year, and they do come up from time to time. So keep an eye out on our newsletters. We'll always flag what is available. And as some of you know, we come and tap you on the shoulder and say, is there something that, you could potentially upgrade? But yeah, this, in terms of being prepared, having a quote, having done some research in terms of what you could replace, what models you might want to replace it with, and the energy efficiency, savings, having that recorded and just saved in a folder, in your Google Drive or on your laptop, then it's so much easier to pull it out at the time when the grant is coming. And, it's not to say that grants are easy. So rebates are definitely the easiest way to take advantage of free money. Well, if you're a ratepayer, it's not free money, but, to actually get that support. Grants do take a bit of paperwork. They do take a bit of application. The digital process, you wouldn't want to leave it for the last day. You definitely, as Janica said, you want to make sure that you've got that deadline well in advance. In fact, you want to be pretty much ready as soon as it's announced. And we're here to help. So we would be very happy to, hold your hand through that process. We definitely want to see your equipment upgraded as part of, your sustainability action plan, and recognise and reward you for doing that. Did we have another question? I've got answered open. I think we've done that one.
I'm also popping up the link to North Sydney rebates in case anyone is interested in looking at that.
So Willoughby Council have free business energy audits, and an energy audit is a really great way to start understanding where the energy is being used in your business, to be able to pinpoint, some anomalies that you may not even realize. Things like air conditioning, coming on at 3 o'clock in the morning every night, and no one's there to know, and you're wondering why your energy prices are going through the roof, or refrigerators, freezers that are very energy inefficient. These things, you don't even have any awareness of them. So energy audits are a really great way, and we can help you. Councils either offer free ones or subsidised rebated energy audits, and then that can identify the things that you can pinpoint for grants and rebates. Okay, is there any other questions? Any other comments?
I'm just popping the Willoughby and Guy as well, just so you are aware where to go to in terms of links to those rebates and energy assessments?
So there is another event actually. The Ku-ring-gai Chamber of Commerce is holding an event in about 3 weeks. It's an in-person event in relation to small businesses accessing grants. So it will be more of a hands-on, face-to-face event, and you'll get more into the nitty-gritty. So we really covered the overview and sort of the why, but if you wanted to really understand how to apply for grants, then that event is on, and we will share a link to it in the email that accompanies this this recording as it goes out. So if there aren't any more questions, any more comments from the floor, have we covered off everything? We'll let everybody go early, and feel free to, as always, contact any of us. Our general info at bbp.org.au, and we'll be happy to answer your questions offline. So on behalf of the team, thank you very much, and subscribe to our newsletter so that you can stay abreast of other events that we hold. We do have a Thursday catch-up every Thursday. We rotate around our BBP cafes and bars. So tomorrow we're actually going to Kipling's Garage Bar up in Turramurra next to the station from 3 o'clock. So feel free to just drop in. We would love to have a chat. And yeah, follow us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn to get those instant updates. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.